So, what do you guys want to talk about? What is going on, everybody? My name is Nikki, and I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. I'm sorry that I kind of sound like crap. I kind of feel like crap. I just got back from Evo. I'm getting over the Evo travel virus. I don't know. Every time I travel, I feel like I come home with a sore throat and a headache, but it's fine. I'm okay. We have some important stuff to talk about. If you did not watch Evo this weekend, as a Killer Instinct fan, you missed out on some very important news. First of all, I played in a 4-player exhibition between myself, Rico Suave, Bass, and Sleep. We put on a great show. We had a great time. There was a lot of cool matchups being played, and if you missed out on it, check it out. The link will be in the description. But right after the exhibition was over, we got word from James Goddard himself, who came out and made an announcement. Oh my God, we are finally, for the first time in over 5 years, we are getting a balance patch for Killer Instinct. A 10-year-old game is getting balance patched. Oh my goodness, I am ready. I hope you guys are too. James Goddard, Maximilian, and Keats basically had a conversation saying that not only are we getting some lobby updates and some matchmaking fixes here in the future, we will also be getting a full-blown balance patch for the game. This is very, very huge for the competitive community of Killer Instinct. The tournament scene is still thriving to this day. Monday Night Mix is as big as it's ever been, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do in terms of balancing this game. So the purpose of this video today is not only to spread awareness about the fact that we're getting the balance patch for Killer Instinct, and if you don't know, now you know, but I also wanted to cover some of the things that I would like to see in a balance patch for this game. So let's cover some of that right now. All right, you guys know the rules. We're going to do this in order. I'm going to start with Jago. All right, so Jago, let's take a look at this character here. If you guys have seen my most recent tier list, you'll know that I don't think this character is very high on the tier list in terms of the context of the game. I don't think he's super top tier or anything. I do think he's viable, just as every character pretty much is in this game, but I don't think you need to give this character too much to make him super crazy. He's got a really good instinct, he does very good damage, and his ground game is phenomenal. He's got some of the best normals in the whole game. He's got really good strike throw pressure, so he's a very simple character. He's not super complex. He's very beginner friendly. One thing that I would like to see for Jago is maybe an improvement to some of his frame data. Back in the day, this crouching medium kick here used to be plus on block, and now it is minus. I do think that this was something that was kind of an oversight, because although it was taken away from Jago, the exact same crouching medium kick still belongs to Shadow Jago and Omen. So they both have the exact same crouching medium kick, and it's still plus on block for them, but not for Jago. And I do think this is something that could help this character out just a little bit. I definitely think in a game like Killer Instinct, if you give a character too many things at this stage in the game, it's going to get really, really crazy. And I expect to see more nerfs than buffs overall. And I don't think there's anything worth nerfing for Jago himself. So I would expect to see maybe a handful of changes maximum for this character. Maybe some hurt box adjustments, or some hitbox adjustments rather. The overhead is very, very good. But what if it just went that little bit farther? You know, like just like this range right here, yeah, you're hitting it. But what if the overhead threat was just a little further back that he could contest? Something like that. Something where he has a little bit more screen presence, I think would help this character out a lot. Or even, not even the overhead, maybe the standing heavy punch goes a little bit further. Maybe just an increased hitbox on this move right here. I don't think that'd be the worst thing in the world. So if you take a look at this here, very good mid-range tool, but what if it was a little bit better? What if Jago's standing heavy punch was just a little bit better than Shadow Jago's? Something like that, I think, is what this character needs. Just a little bit more screen presence overall to kind of help him get up there with the other crazy characters in this game. Jago is definitely still crazy, but he is lacking in comparison, in my opinion. All right, up next we got Sabrewulf. You guys know what it is. I hate this character. I would be lying if I said I didn't want to see some changes for this character. I really, really do. I think this character is very dated. That is my opinion of this character. He is very outdated. Like, having this right here, hold on, let's turn on this frame data. This character has a 5 frame crouching light kick that is +4 on block. Why is it +4 on block? I don't know. All I know is that as soon as you block this character, anything like this, it requires a response. You're eating some sort of mix-up. It's going to be a frame trap, it's going to be a dash through, or it's going to be a throw. And I just don't like the fact that this character gets all that from his crouching light kick, that you have to hold all that mental stack. it's just so crazy. I've always thought this character was just insane for rushdown. Like if you look at a character like Sabrewulf compared to like traditional rushdown characters, do they have all of these plus frames? +2, +2, +4, +3, +2, and then it gets crazier if charged. Just like everything in creation is plus, and then the stuff that's not plus is safe. That's 0. I don't think this is still +2. I think that's incorrect, especially if you chain it. 0, -3, safe. You're never really using this. This is -6, but why would you? You know, same thing with this. This is kind of something you don't really use all that much, but still -2. I just think he's 2+. I think there's way too much freedom with this character to be as plus as he is. I don't think you can do anything to adjust the movement. I think if you nerf the dash, it's gonna be too crazy. The overhead low mixes, you know, that's kind of his thing. And the overhead was already nerfed once. It is what it is. I just think he's 2+. Like, it is unnecessary that he gets +2 here, +2 here, +4, and +3. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. I know these all have different pushbacks, and they all have different ranges that they leave you at. It's just a big question mark in my head. Why is he always all of this plus? It's just too much, in my opinion. Will they do anything about it? I don't know. I really have no idea. But one thing I know for sure is that I will hate this character for the rest of my living days. Glacius next. No surprise here. I do think that this character is busted, especially in recent years. This character is too much, bro. I think we need to see some changes. I think the big one is probably Cold Shoulder. Honestly, like if you look at what he does as a character, and then Cold Shoulder being as crazy as it is, yeah, let me leave him on block all. Like this right here, this is nuts. The fact that this is made safe just because you did this from a distance, you know, the fact that this is -8 kind of loses value when they're all the way back here. You know, most characters can't punish that. And then the medium one, same thing. -5. Oh my god, this is outrageous. This medium Cold Shoulder is absolutely criminal. I don't think he needs all this, especially when you consider the fact that he just gets crazy damage output. His damage output is nuts. You know, if you get a counter breaker with this character, do something like this, that's 1 bar, and he is just supposed to be a zoner, right? He got 55% for 1 bar. And then he can, you know, fight you from back here too. He's got this, he's got all this stuff. And this is, I think, the identity of this character is supposed to be this long range kind of style, you know, comboing off of shatter and hail and stuff like that, poking. This is kind of what this character is supposed to be. So if they don't adjust the damage in any way, I would like to see some changes to Cold Shoulder. I think this right here is one of the silliest moves in the game, and I think that this is going to be, I don't know. I think this is probably the thing they would look at the most when looking at this character. Looking at the damage too would be nice, but honestly, I think that might be too much, personally. As far as like instinct goes, I can't really see anything being too crazy there either. I know I didn't really cover Wolf's instinct all either, or Jago's. I think they're both fine. Glacius' instinct. The armor counter above his head, or on his face, I should say, that doesn't really need to be there anymore. I don't know if they can get rid of that or not, but that's never mattered. That's just how many hits of armor he has when he's in instinct, and it never goes below. It never reaches 0, because the rate at which he has the armor is like the rate at which he gets it after it's been depleted. Like, he's not going to get 5 uses out of it. He's just not. So I just think that's a little outdated UI. I don't think we're going to be seeing any UI fixes or anything like that, or anything that's like a balance patch for, not a balance patch, but any quality of life changes or anything like that. So I wouldn't bet on that. But other than that, I mean, this maybe make this a little bit more visible. I don't know if that's possible, but it travels very fast. But I really don't think that's a big deal. I think instinct should be strong anyway, so I'm fine with it. Just the Cold Shoulder, please. That move is criminal. All right, so Thunder's in this weird spot right now, right? Where you see Hologram, and he comes to Killer Instinct, and he does his thing, and he just smokes everybody. And a lot of people have the impression that Thunder is like this super top-tier character, and he's very, very good, but there are a lot of characters that kind of stuff him out just for being who he is. I feel like he just doesn't get in on a lot of characters, like, you know, Aganos is a big one. Shin Hisako, he has a hard time walking down characters with insane mobility and or good projectiles / space control. And I don't know if there's really a way you do that with this character. I think he's kind of designed to have those inherent weaknesses because of the fact that he's this crazy, oppressive walking blender. And that when he does get in and gets to do the thing, he's, you know, the scariest character in the game. So I don't really think that there's going to be much change to this character. I could see them maybe buffing the DP again in some way. Maybe. I don't know if they would give him any full invincibility on it, but maybe some more, I don't know, maybe some more invincibility on it. I really don't know how that works, like increasing the amount of frames that it's invincible for on the upper body, something like that. I don't know. Ankle slicer too, maybe. Maybe. I don't really think he needs too much to be super powerful. And especially when you consider the fact that, like, we have all these top tier characters that we know are probably going to get hit in some way, shape, or form. We know that we've seen it a bunch of times that Keith really hates Rash. So the Rash menace might be coming to a close real soon. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see. I'll talk about what I'd like to see change for that character. But as far as what they actually do to him, I have no idea. With all these characters coming down, that inherently kind of makes characters like this a little bit better, especially if they get something. You know, if he gets one change, like, I don't know, better, I don't know, a better DP, like I said, then that makes him, you know, already higher than the other characters, and then they come down, you know, they're meeting halfway, right? So we'll see. I like I said, I don't see him getting anything crazy because I think this character is very capable, but I would be very, very surprised if he just doesn't become like one of the best characters in the game due to all these other characters coming down. That's my opinion. Jago is one of these characters that I think is kind of in this spot where he's like pretty perfectly balanced. His instinct is very good. He's got good movement. He's got some of the best movement in the game, honestly. His dash is crazy. I don't know if he's worth nerfing, I'll be honest. I think he's kind of just strong, and then that's it. You know, nobody really views this character as like top 5 right now, but I could definitely see him moving higher up as this balance patch takes place. I don't know if they're going to take anything away from him to compensate that. I really don't know what they would, though. Shadow Fireball being +2 is pretty crazy, but you spend a bar for it. All the unbreakable damage, maybe tone down this. All the unbreakable damage he gets, and then that leaves you with level 3, 21%, one chance break, and then that does 27, so almost 50. Maybe tone down the damage on the unbreakable stuff. I really don't know. I don't think he's really worth changing. He's been touched a bunch in the past. Of course, you know, he was a mess when he launched at the end of Season 2, and he had all the Season 3 mechanics before everybody else. That character was busted in the context of that game. In the context of this game, I think he's like perfect middle of the road. And like I said about Thunder, with all these other characters that are potentially going to come down, that could potentially come down, I do think that this character is probably going to go up naturally. He's natively going to be a better character because of those characters coming down. So even if he doesn't go higher than them on the tier list, it'll just be closer together. And that's what balance is at the end of the day. I really don't know what you could do to this character to make him stand out more. I don't think he really needs any buffs because he's got full screen presence, full screen hit confirms. You know, I don't think this is the issue, you know, but I don't think that's broken for what he does. I think he's supposed to be like a crazy degenerate character, but he also doesn't like kill you in one touch either. Like you have to do a bunch of auto doubles and stuff like that, very breakable stuff to get a lot of that damage. The Raging Demon, yeah, maybe Annihilation does a little bit less, but you're using your entire instinct for this, man. I don't know. I could see that, I guess. I think that'd be the one change, maybe, is Annihilation not doing almost 50%. Maybe bring the value of that down a little bit more so you force people to actually use the tether. People use their instinct a little bit more. That way they can, showcase how good this character's instinct actually is. You see a lot of people just use the Annihilation and that's it. I think this character's instinct is insane. He's got some crazy, crazy stuff when he's in instinct, and I do think that it's very underutilized. So maybe toning down the Annihilation to help showcase the rest of the instinct wouldn't be the worst idea. All right, so Sadira, this is an interesting one too, because this character was on top for so long. Definitely a top 2 character in Season 1. Arguably the best character in Season 1, and she was very, very good all throughout Season 2. They kind of reworked her. They took away all that crazy spin to win stuff she had in Season 1, and then she just had crazy other unbreakable stuff in Season 2. She might even have been a better character in Season 2 overall. There was just more characters that she was fighting up against, so matchups were definitely a factor and stuff like that. But what do you do to make this character not broken, right? Like where she is right now, she's good, but then she lacks in like matchups. So I feel like this is another case with Jago. You give this character too much, she's going to be unstoppable. She's got great movement as is. 2 jumps, you know, she does stuff like this all the time to make it very ambiguous to deal with her approach and stuff like that. And her damage output is very good, especially if she gets like a, you know, a lockout or something like that. She gets decent damage on lockouts, and then her instinct, forget about it. I don't know what you can actually do to this character without completely making her what she used to be. Her instinct pressure, so good. The webs are still very, very good to this day. And when she has instinct available, it's so scary to try to contest her because the web coming out is just going to make her all that much scarier. You know, it's just like, oh my god, this character has instinct. I don't want to be anywhere near Sadira. And then she starts waking up with jump because you gave her that respect, right? So, I really don't want to see this character get too many things for buffs, honestly. I really don't know. I think one thing that could be good for this character that I like to see is all of her wake-up options are kind of gimmicky. And what I mean by that is none of them are really like, she doesn't have like a DP, right? She's got this. This is 4 frames and goes over lows. That is a very fast reversal. That is not good for, you know, beating, you know, like meaty mids and stuff like that. And then she has this, which is also very, very good. And it's upper body invincible. So she has like a mix-up on her wake-up. She has this too. This one you don't see as much, I feel like. It is fully invincible, but it's very easy to take advantage of if you know the opponent's going to do it. But I feel like her thing is that she's kind of supposed to be a slippery character. And one thing that I would like to see is maybe an improvement to her backdash. Maybe this is something they can consider because her backdash is pretty lacking. It's got good range, but it's very slow and very easy to punish. Maybe they can make her backdash a little better in terms of recovery, maybe so that it recovers faster and she's not, you know, gonna be getting bodied every time she backdashes towards the corner immediately. Maybe it makes people have to think about their pressure against her a little bit more. I do think that her defense is already pretty decent, but I think this could be something to help her survive against the more crazy offensive characters. All right, next up we have Orchid. Orchid is kind of an interesting one because I do have her on the lower side of things these days, but I still think that she's very, very good. And much like Jago, you give a character like this too much, she's going to be very crazy. Real quick, just like thinking about like her frame data on her pokes, I think these could spare to be a little bit better. I think this being -8 by itself is a little much, and I do think this being -5 is a little bit much too. Just having these kind of like old school pokes that are like good from a distance and, you know, confirmable, I think they could be a little bit better on block. Maybe this one could be -5 and this one could be like -2. I think that would be a decent change. I also think another change I'd like to see for this character is some more of Shadow Ichini-san. This move right here, I think, is like not completely useless, but you never see it. And I feel like for the most part, it's only ever used like by like people that are trying to be cheeky. You know, I don't think there's much utility for this move at all. It does fully charged, what, 13% with a little bit of potential damage, and that's from up close. And then from back here, you know, it won't even reach if you don't charge it all the way. I just think this move is kind of whack. I'd like to see something for this move if possible. I don't know what. Maybe make it so that it charges faster, maybe increase the damage on it a little bit. I just think that this move is like something you don't ever see because of how like pointless it is to use. So maybe a buff there could be something cool to add to Orchid's repertoire. Up next, we're looking at the Bone Boy, the first DLC character of Season 1. I really don't have many complaints about this character as far as taking anything away. I don't think he needs anything there. I do think one thing that I've always thought about this character is his resources. If you look at a character like Aganos, he starts with 2 chunks. If you look at a character like Eyedol, he starts with a full quiver. He doesn't have to go picking up his arrows or earning his arrows. You look at a character like Spinal, he doesn't start with anything. He has to earn his skulls. You know, he's got to either power devour for them, or he's got to do something like this, spectral manuals, using the fireball ender to actually get the skulls. And earning them, earning just any of them can be very, very tricky against certain characters. You know, like how do you find the hit against Omen? You know, a character that's super slippery that kind of just dominates the neutral. I do think that he's got some very difficult matchups there. He can't really generate skulls all that frequently. And I think if maybe he just started with 1. I think if Spinal started with 1 skull at the start of the round, I think that would be fine. It would give him the ability to do like 1 run cancel or, you know, 1 block string into plus frames. I think that would be fine. And I don't think that would be too much to make this character super, super broken. I think that that is a decent change for the character, where everybody else in this game starts with a resource. Some people might argue that he needs to start with 2 or 3 skulls. I think that's a little bit overdoing it, and I do think if he has 1 skull, he could very easily get another one or several, depending, because setting up a frame trap off of something like, you know, one of these kind of block strings where it's like button and a medium skull, or if you have the skull already and then you go for like a run cancel and a grab, that gives you the skull back. You know, you run cancel, you get the grab, you get another skull. So I think having the 1 skull at round start would work wonders for this character, and it would not send him too far over the top. Okay, big robot elephant in the room, Fulgore. You know, there's a part of me that doesn't want this character to get changed at all, right? I'd be very, very much lying if I said that I wasn't trying to be greedy with this character. I don't want anything taken away from my boy, but I do think it's going to be necessary. I do think that we're going to see some changes for Fulgore, and if I had to point out the biggest thing that I think would be adjusted in some way would probably be the teleport. I think it needs to be more visible. I think it's too good on its own, or maybe slow it down a little bit, maybe increase the startup or something. I think that it's very, very fast. It's a very, very fast move, and like I said, the invisibility is a big deal too. You know, with the rollback in this game, it's very, very hard to see him online sometimes when he does his teleport, because it takes so long for his model to reload back in. And I think that that's been a complaint that a lot of people have had since day 1 with this character. So, I don't know. I think this 100% is the biggest deal for this character, is his teleport. And I do think that if you know, change it a little bit, it's going to probably... Well, here's the thing. It's still going to be very, very good, but it's going to be tolerable if you at least can see where he's going. You know, with Spinal, he's projecting, like, the green stuff out of the ground, so it's got, like, an animation to it. There's really no animation here. He just kind of does it. He warps, and that's that. So I think a change to the teleport is probably the biggest thing that I can think of. Don't get me wrong. He's got a ton of amazing tools. You know, his projectile game is amazing. Blade dash has always been dumb. But if I had to pick any one thing, man, this teleport has has saved my ass so many times in so many different situations that I just don't see a universe where this move could ever be bad in this current state of the game. So I think this is the #1 priority when it comes to this character. He's got amazing frame data too. Maybe the frame data could come down a little bit. You know, this being +2, this being +2, setting up the crouching medium kick. It's all very, very good, man. I could see the frame data getting hit as well. This being +2, you know, that could be 0. I could see that happening. I could see this being you know, 0 or even -2. You know, he's just as scary up close as he is from a distance, right? He kind of covers all angles. Maybe this grab too. A lot of complaints about the grab is what I've gotten from playing people with this character, is that his throw range is like absurd, and they're right. This throw is really, really good. I think that him getting the Oki that he gets off of it is fine when you look at all the other characters that get what they get off their throws, because throws are a big deal in this game, but the throw range itself maybe can come down just a little bit. Maybe more similar to like Rash's grab range or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's a good remedy for this character. I don't know, guys. Like I said, I want to be greedy and have him unchanged, but I don't think it's realistic. I think that we're going to see something hitting this character soon. I don't know what. I don't know if it's going to be a lot of things, but I do know one thing is for sure. I'm praying for my boy. Fingers crossed that this character isn't just, boom, getting the axe. All right, so up next is TJ Combo. This is a character that is also widely regarded as somebody who's on the lower half of the tier list these days. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think he's somewhere maybe in the middle. I think this character is very, very good, man. It's very, very hard to justify buffs for this character when we've seen what he was in season 2, when he was over the top, when this throw was like, or excuse me, when the roll only lost the throws and it went through every other attack in the game. This character was busted. It was just too much, right? But I do think if they were going to give him anything to help him out, I think he could use some frame data buffs, honestly. One thing that he uses a ton is his target combo. And this right here is, this is -5 by itself, and it doesn't have great range. I mean, it's forward advancing, yes, but it's not, the hitbox on it is not all that great. It's pretty stubby, as you can see right there. So I do think it being forward advancing in 8 frames, or 9 frames even, isn't bad, but just like looking at the character, like his normals, just, they're just lacking. And I know he's supposed to be a character that relies on his special moves. You know, he's got the power line. He's got all these options here, right? He does all this crazy stuff. But I do think that he could use a little bit of help up close, and I think that some frame data would help him a little bit. His jab being 0, I think, is kind of a pain in the neck, because you can't really frame trap with this character unless you're, like, chaining. He doesn't have any plus on block light normals. They're all 0 at best. That goes for this. This is always negative. The speed bag is negative. I think maybe you could make the speed bag plus on block. Maybe the final hit, if it doesn't get shadow countered. This could be like +1 or something like that. Just a thought. You know, maybe if it's a character that has like a parry, maybe they'd have to like parry in between or something like that. Just like leave some gaps in there. I don't know. Just something to help his up close pressure a little bit. This being -4 by itself is, I think, okay. I don't think that's bad, but this by itself being -5 on block and 9 frames for a medium, I just don't like that. I think it should be a little bit better. Just my opinion. I don't think that TJ, if he does get anything, is going to get a lot. But if I had to say anything, I would probably say his frame data could use his frame data and or his hitboxes on some of his attacks could be a little bit better. I do think that that's, if there's any area or department where he is lacking, that would be it. Okay, so we have Maya. This is a character that's been changed and reworked so many times. Once upon a time, CD Jr. was running over everybody with this character, and she got adjusted a lot because of it. I think the biggest thing for this character is that her DP is kind of whack. This one right here, the Shadow DP, doesn't, I mean, it is invincible and it does stop some things, but the invincibility on it is very, very bad. This move is only invincible on startup, and it loses its invincibility once it's in the air and it's active. So there are so many things in this game that just beat it. I've seen it lose to other shadow moves. It loses to other special moves. I've seen it lose to normals, like clean. I think this DP is one of the worst in the game. And for spending a meter on it and only getting 9% if it hits, it's just not very good. I think that's the one thing I'd like to see changed on Maya is her DP. The meterless ones, I don't think these should be invincible at all. I think they're solely supposed to be for beating throws, because this is airborne on frame 1, right? And having a meterless airborne move on frame 1, I think that's very good. So you got the forward heavy kick that's airborne as well. So I don't think she needs a ton of more invincibility. I just think that this should be a little bit better. The shadow leap kick is very, very underwhelming, and I just don't think it's a good wake up. I think that could use a little bit of help. All right, looking at a character like Conra. Conra's an interesting one because, like, you know, it was like, oh, this character's so bad, blah, 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 blah. He was super nerfed into the ground after Season 2. But then really what happened was that people just started changing their play style with this character and started setting up this more. And we haven't really seen this, like, be dominated other than by, like, a handful of characters. Like, when Duel sets this up, if he's not fighting against, like, Fulgore or Rash or, I don't know, there's a handful of characters that this character just completely gets walled out by, but I think that's by design. I think this character is not meant to win every single matchup, right? But he completely dominates some matchups where the opponent can't deal with this situation right here, where he's just camping you and he's got a sand trap set up. That's just like his win condition these days, is setting up the curse and setting up the sand trap. I do think that this character has some errors, though, and what I mean by that is there are some cases where, like, people only get hit once by scarabs. I've seen that happen quite a bit. I don't know if I'd be able to recreate it in this video, but there are definitely some sequences that happen with this character that I'm just like, ooh, Conrad could use a little bit of help here. The bugs only hitting once is a big one for sure, and I do think that he's got some, like, weird glitchiness to his enders too. Like, there is definitely, like, a thing with his enders where sometimes, like, his damage ender just, like, whiffs. I've seen it a lot, like, off of, like, World Linkers and stuff like that. Oh, there it is right there. Yeah, and he lost damage because of that. So, like, trying to do, like, damage ender off of a World Linker, it just completely whiffs. Whereas if I do it like this, you know, he gets all those additional hits, right? But, you know, you do it like this instead, and then you go for the damage ender and it just doesn't, you don't get it. It's very, very disheartening. Let's see if I can make it happen again with, like, a level 4. Maybe? No, I got it there. Okay. So it seems to be, like, an inconsistent thing. It happened there. Yeah, level 2 damage ender for sure. Weird. Yeah, that's so weird. Stuff like that. I think more than anything, that's what this character needs looked at. It's just some consistency. I think having like whiffing enders and moves only hitting once that are supposed to be multi-hitting. Like Scarab is supposed to hit 3 times like that. And then if it's something they like walk into, it's supposed to hit 5 times. Okay, yeah. Those are the types of things I would like to see for this character. Actual bug fixes. No pun intended. We got Whipdol. We got Whipdol. All right. I love this character. In more recent years, I've been having more and more fun with this character, and I think the big issue with this character is you don't see her played enough, and I don't think that means that she's bad. I just think that there's just a very small player base for this character. I think that she is very, very good overall, but there's one thing that I've kind of always wanted from this character that isn't possible, and I wish she could start combos with her can-can. And that might be asking for too much because it is plus on block. And, I mean, well, it's also shadow counterable too, right? It hits twice. But, you know, this infinite pressure, this is very, very good. But if you get the can-can to hit, the toe tap, whatever the hell it's actually called. I always forget the name of these Predator stance moves. +4 on hit, right? So it guarantees pressure afterwards. But what if I was able to get, like, an auto double off of it? You know, what if I was able to go into a combo off of this? You know, if I set up the pressure off of them blocking this move right here, you know, they block this and then they get hit by can-can. Why can't I combo off that? Getting just the hit advantage there, it's fine. It realistically is fine, but the greediness in me wants Riptor to be able to combo off that. She combos off of this, she combos off of her overhead. That's all fine. These moves are pretty much safe and all that stuff, but I just think that would be a cool change for this character because you only really see this, you know, when somebody's like meterless and they don't have any you know, they don't have any resources to get away from it, right? You just do this infinite block string against certain characters and they can't like backdash or mash out of it. But just to be able to get a combo with that, I think would be fine for the character. I don't think that would absolutely break her. I think that would be fun too, starting combos with can-can. Another weird thing with Riptor is like flame carpet into headbutt is kind of jank sometimes, where sometimes like your headbutt will just whiff. If you go for the shoulder charge, I should call it, is actually what it is. See, if I set him to auto block, will this work this way? This work? Yeah, okay. So in some cases that can whiff, and it's very much like not consistent. Let's see. A hard knockdown ender. This into shoulder charge. Okay, so it worked there. There are some cases where that does not work, and it's very, very frustrating. Because you go for the flame carpet and you try to be plus afterwards with a shoulder charge, and then it just whiffs. Again, recreating it, gonna be a little bit hard. I'm not sure what causes it, but just stuff like that, these small inconsistencies with this character, just to make it so that they get the guaranteed pressure that they're going for. The way that the flame carpet interacts sometimes is a little jank, and if that could get cleaned up, I think that would be fine. And I don't think it would break the character either, because I think it'd be working as intended, right? We got this character here. His name is Omen. I don't like him very much. I think he's kind of annoying, and I think the thing that I hate the most about this character is his aerial movement. I think him being able to do what he does in the air is just a bit much, and I don't like it whatsoever. Him being able to do all this crazy stuff for the cost of nothing when you have characters that have, you know, like Mira, who has to spend a resource to do all this stuff. And I don't know, it doesn't sit with me the right way. He's got this crazy... He's got all this crazy frame data, like everything is super safe or plus, you know, and then he's also got like this crazy air game too. I don't know, man. It's just hard for me to justify this character. He definitely has counters, and I definitely think that there's a side of this character where it's just like, oh wow, he struggles with these couple of things, but I think this is overkill. I think his aerial movement is a bit much, and I think it shouldn't be as free as it is, where he's able to just do this at any given time, because of how non-committal it is. I'm going to get this little thing out of the way, but like if you're flying at somebody, you can fly at them from full screen, right? This is a thing that goes all the way across the screen, is fly at somebody, and you'll land point blank next to them. Now, at any given time, you might think, oh, we'll just anti-air it. At any given time, he can stop his approach and go anywhere he wants. So he can cut back half screen, he could cut back as soon as he jumps, and it's very, very non-committal. This is a very, very good way to approach with Omen. And it makes it even crazier when you have Rashikukins on the screen. So it's just like, You know, what's bad about that, right? So maybe after a certain point, he shouldn't be able to go backwards. Maybe he should only be able to go backwards off of his jump, right? Maybe something like that. If he flies forward, maybe the fly should be a commitment. Maybe he should have to like fly and come in with a normal or something like that. And if he wants to go backwards, he can't fly first. Something like that to restrict this character a little bit from being so free form. Again, no pun intended. The shadow form is also kind of annoying, but I think if you start touching too many things, this character is going to be, you know, he's going to be a mess, and I don't think that they should go that far with this character. But if I had to pick any one thing, he should not have all this freedom with his movement. I think this is too crazy of a thing to have, especially when being in the air as this is as strong as it is in this game. Just take a look at Rash. This got to be one of the most problematic characters in the entire game. You got this character here, Aganos, who is just absolutely mauling everybody because he's just such an impenetrable force in this game, and he is just a force to be reckoned with no matter who you are. Look at that, bro. That's crazy. That is what I would want changed for this character. This wall crash stuff, this has got to go, bro. This is too much. In a game that is built around breaking combos and him having unbreakable combos, they got to take this out. This is too much. I don't think this character will be bad if he doesn't have the unbreakable stuff. Now, I don't think the wall crash mechanic should be gone permanently, but I don't think that this as an unbreakable setup should work. I think this is kind of dumb. It's just, it's too good. I think that's the thing that's on everybody's mind with this character too, is that the wall crash is just too much. And I do think it comes down to the unbreakable versions of it. Like, so if he has like, you know, this roll here, and then he goes into the shadow payload, like, this should not work. This should count as an opener ender. As soon as he tries to break the wall, maybe it leaves the wall up, and then, like, you know, you break it as you'd break any other opener ender, and you don't take the damage. I don't know how complex that would be to fix. I really don't know. I do think that's the best case scenario for this character, though, is getting rid of that, because that's really what this character is all about. You know, you see an Aganos player, they're not worried about, you know, if they're going to hit you with this or how they're going to go about getting their chunks. They're worried about, hey, how many walls can I put you through? And they're making Twitter clips out of you just for playing neutral. It's the worst feeling in the world. This character is truly playing his own game, and I do feel like if this gets taken away, he'll still be top tier. He'll still be incredibly good. He'll still be, like, questionably top 5. He still got this. He still has this. Insane frame data. Some of the best jump-ins I've ever seen in my life. Just fix the wall crash, please. Fix the TODs. This right here is going to be one of the most difficult characters for me to talk about because I don't know what you do with this character. I'm going to be completely honest. I've given this thought for a while as to what I would like to see if they ever changed this game in any way. And with Hisako, I really feel like she's in this spot where she's just good and that's it. And if you take anything away from her, it's going to suck. And if you give her anything, she's going to be unstoppable, which I think is a really good sign of a very perfectly balanced character. I don't know that she really needs anything at all. Her damage output might come down a little bit. If I were to say anything, this heavy command grab here starting this combo and giving her a 16% starter that gives you a level 2 might come down a little bit. I could see that. I think that that's like the best case scenario for this character is if she gets like some sort of damage nerf, because she, let's face it, she could definitely two-touch you if she gets like a counter breaker or a big lockout. It just happens. She does crazy damage. Her damage ender is very, very good, and her openers just do a ton of damage. You know, she gets this into a heavy auto double. She's getting a level 4 jack. Well, almost, but close enough, right? That's the only thing I could really ask for Hisako is like a little bit of a damage nerf, I guess. Because that, oh, there's a level 4. I needed the light linker. Command grab, heavy auto double, light linker, almost 60% for getting hit with a command grab. It's a lot, man. It's hard to justify that stuff. That would have to be my pick for this character, I guess. I can't see them touching anything involving her frame data or the way she operates as a character. Her wrath meter, I think, is perfectly designed. Her parry, I think, is fine. I think if you start messing with something like the parry, you know, you're gonna be in deep water, because if you make this any better, and like let's say it works on projectiles now, like you could parry stuff with vengeance counter like you can with Kim Woo's parry, she's gonna be unstoppable because then she never gets zoned, right? And if you give her anything that's like too much of a nerf to her parry, like this only works on overheads and this only works on lows, great, now she has no way to stop mids, you know? So like it's what do you do? Right? This character is a big question mark for me. And if I were to see anything for this character, it would probably have to be the damage nerf. I think that's the number one thing, because this is a lot, right? This is kind of crazy. That's just my 2 cents. I think if we're going to see anything for Hisako, it's probably going to be her damage. This is a character that I don't think is very hot right now, no pun intended. And I think it has to do with his approach. I think this character is kind of lacking in terms of how he gets started in this game. If he's not fired up and has access to stuff like this, which requires him to be requires him to be fired up, and it also requires him to have meter to combo off of it, right? It's just like he doesn't get to hang in there with a lot of the characters that don't really need the resources to fight. You know, like, he has no way to deal with Rash. He has no way to deal with a lot of this stuff because he's just like so whatever when he's not fired up. You know, he's got the 3 Trailblazers. I guess that's okay, but I think Trailblazer is so mid. I think this move is super whack. This Trailblazer right here, -9 on block when it's point blank, and from a distance it could be up to 0. I think that you should be able to space this to make it plus, personally. I think you should be able to start some pressure off this because his pressure strings just aren't that good. I think that his like his 5-framers and stuff like this stuff is all super whack. Like, you can't combo off of his jab unless you're committing to a Trailblazer. I think that's super whack. This doesn't chain in a game where everybody has like chaining jabs. He has like no chains. He's got this stuff here, but I think this stuff is pretty whack, and it's got a lot of gaps in it too. It's just not very consistent pressure. I think something that I'd like to see more than anything else is maybe going into target combo off of crouching light punch, just because it has a better hitbox than this stand jab. The stand jab is pretty whack. I really don't think this button is very, very good. The fact that it goes into this stuff is good, but it's, you know, just like, if you don't get that, then, you know, if this whiffs on somebody, which I've definitely seen this whiff, it's very, very hard to convince me that this character's pressure is good. So that's a buff I'd like to see. Maybe scratch the Trailblazer thing. He should be able to go into his target combo off his crouch jab. That would give this character some better pressure, in my opinion. And I think that that would be something to make him a little bit higher up on the tier list. So if he could do like into this string off this first hit being jab, and then have him stand up and do the second hit into the whatever follow-up he wants, you know, in any sequence, I think that would be very, very cool for this character, is if he got some additional target combos starting with the crouching light punch. All right. Another foul demon top tier character, the CEO of Ultratech, ARIA. Okay, so this character's got a lot going on, right? And I think if you mess with her core, which is a character that's designed to have these assists and switch back and forth between these bodies, I think if you mess with any of that, it's really not going to be good. I think that she's going to be super whack if any of that stuff gets changed. So I think all that should stay the same. I think it's her base kit that needs to be looked at. Like, for instance, she has some of the best frame data in the game. Like, her frame data is immaculate. All of her light normals are plus on block. And albeit they have stubby range, I think that these are really, really crazy. She also has this plus on block crouching medium punch. You know, she's just got a lot of stuff like that. It's very, very good. So I could see that getting toned down a little bit. And then if you look at like the normal moves that she has when she's not in any particular body, she basically just has this and the arc. And I think that the arc itself isn't too crazy. I do think that maybe this heavy arc could spare to be a little bit slower if it's going to be +1. And what I mean by that is that it should be easier to shadow counter. So on block, shadow countering this move I think should be a little bit easier. It's just like, how are you shadow countering this consistently? You know, if you're fighting somebody who's doing this all day long, shadow countering this is a lot easier said than done. And I think that that's the big deal, is the arc. The shotgun blitz too, maybe this move should be a little bit more negative. You know, the heavy one being -10, it's not always even getting punished because of how far back she is. So maybe these moves could be a little bit more negative too. I don't know. I think that this move is crazy. And look how fast it recovers if it whiffs. You know, she could do stuff like this till the cows come home. That's really, really good. I see a lot of Arias like whiff shotgun knee, and then they'll start their pressure over again because you're trying to respect her, and then you get, you know, a tick thrown for it. So there's a lot to unpack there. I think that that's what I would change. I don't think you should change like you know, anything revolving around her instinct or her bodies or anything like that. I think solely just like tuning down the basic stuff is going to be enough to satiate with this character. I know there's a lot of people who want to see the assists change and stuff like that, but I think at the end of the day, if you look at a character that is supposed to be a boss character, this stuff is supposed to be strong, right? She's supposed to have all this stuff. Maybe the damage can come down a little bit. So like, you know, she's got like this crazy instinct combo, right? This is like the Jeremy Kato, where she gets this, and then if I set them not to block, then she gets like, what is it? It's this into this, and then the Shadow DP cash out. Yeah, maybe that shouldn't be hitting for 60% for a level 4. I don't know. I think that might be worth looking into, but regardless, I think that she should be as strong as she is in all these bodies because that's what the character is supposed to do. She's supposed to be a boss character. So I wouldn't like to see that change very much. I would just stick to the basic stuff. All right, so we've got the low tier queen herself, Kim Woo. I had her on the bottom 1 for my tier list for a little while. I don't know if she's necessarily bottom 1 anymore, but I do think that she's, you know, on the lower part of the tier list for sure. And if I were to give Kim Woo anything, well, we know we're not taking anything away from her, right? Let's just point that out right away because this character has really good damage, and I don't think that she's gonna lose that anytime soon. I don't think she's losing anything. I think that's only up from here for Kim Woo. And I think if we're gonna buff anything, I would maybe look at some of the hitboxes on some of her attacks are pretty stubby. She's not very good in the range department. She's got this standing heavy punch that's goes into her katas, right? She's got like this target combo that she goes into her nunchuck attacks with like that. And she has great movement with them. But the individual moves, like standing medium punch and standing heavy punch, they're just pretty stubby in terms of their actual hitbox. Let's take a look at these real quick. So standing medium punch, I'm going to try to time it, is... Okay, it's actually a pretty big size. It goes up kind of high, but it's not very long, right? And the same can be said for the standing heavy punch, and the hitbox on this is even worse. It's not active for nearly as long, but it does go just about as far as the standing medium punch does. Maybe a little bit farther because she does bring herself forward for a quick second when she does it. But yeah, I'd like to see an increase on the range of the hitbox of some of these attacks. I think the nunchuck moves in particular, I could see them even doing that with Firecracker. Maybe make Firecracker have a better hitbox, something like that. Just some better hitbox adjustments for her so that she can actually like play footsies with whoever she's trying to be in range with. I feel like that's kind of the thing I've noticed when playing with this character and even playing against this character, is that she's like often put in these situations where there's these crazy moves in this game that have a ton of pushback, and she's just not always able to respond properly. So I think that would be the big thing, is maybe some better hitboxes for good old Kimothy here. I think that would be fine. All right, we got the big boy, Tusk, the immortal spirit. I don't know much about what I would do to this character either. Very similarly to Hisako, I think this character is going to be super scary if you give him too much. You know, I'm not really sure what you could give him to make him better. I don't really think he needs it, honestly, now that I think about it, because he's always almost in like the top 5 of every tier list that I've put. He's just so good. He's just an incredibly solid character, but I also don't think he needs to have anything taken away. He's got this very high damage output on like his cash outs and stuff like that, and I think that's a big part of like who he is as a character. He just hits hard. One of the best enders in the game. Some big damage normals and stuff like that. Just huge damage output when he does find the hit. He's not a very mix-up heavy character. He's got some really good strike throw stuff up close, but other than that, he's not, you know, overhead lowing you to death. It's more traditional mix-ups with like shimmies and stuff like that, and movement options in general. Other than that, I don't think that there's a need to do much to this character. He does have this really good instinct too, just really quickly. So with the instinct, you know, you get to cancel anything into anything, right? So he can cancel the dash into, you know, another special move. That's really, really good, right? He can cancel anything into anything. And it drains his instinct every time he does a cancel. I like the way this character is designed, man. I really don't think there's a need for a change for him personally. I really like the way he works, and I don't think that there's any problem with it. I think it's cool. Oh, he can go straight into a linker off that when he's an instinct? I didn't know that. He can't do that outside of instinct, right? No, he sure can. Okay. I didn't think so, but you never be too sure. That's very cool. I never knew that. Yeah, Tusk is on my list with Hisako, man. I don't know. What do you do to this character? Arguably one of the best defensive characters in this game. I do think he's in that same kind of tier with Tusk and Hisako where you don't really want to touch this character too much, I don't think. But if I had to give him something, I wouldn't take anything away, personally. I think this character's in a good spot. But I do think the range on his command grab is a little weird up close. Like, if you're point blank, you can only use the light one. But if you happen to press the medium one or you get some negative edge, he's just going to go past them. And I don't think he gets any additional damage for using light, medium, or heavy. I think they're all the same. Let me see. If I use the gun with it, it'll give me percentages. So that's 16. I think they're all the same damage-wise, right? Yeah. So, I don't know. I just think having this weird hitbox where the heavy command grab goes past them is kind of strange. I don't know. That's something that's kind of always irked me about this character, that I was just like, why doesn't that just hit clean? You know, like if you're point blank, you can only tick into the light one, which I guess really is fine. It's just like every other character in the game has this. They can tick into their other command grabs. I guess it's because they're all the same speed, maybe. So it's just like you have to know which one you have to use depending on the range. I guess that's the justification for it. But I just, I don't know. It's just always kind of bugged me that the light one's the only one that you could use from this range. And then from back here is where, you know, it starts to not work as well and you have to use the other ones. But the other ones don't work up close. It's just a strange thing. Another thing that I think is strange, that I don't think any other character has this, but his max damage starter comes off of standing is forward heavy kick. So this is 12% and this is 11. And I just think that's very strange that he gets his max damage starter off of a medium normal, whereas everybody else would do like a heavy into a shadow instead. And again, that doesn't matter really at the end of the day. It's just a very weird design choice. And I get why they did it, because they couldn't attach that button to anything else. But it's just a very strange thing that just doesn't make sense. My brain doesn't process it normally. I'm thinking like, oh, max damage punish with Arbiter. I do something that looks like this and not this. But again, that's just something that you adjust your brain for when you're playing the character. So all in all, I've just been wasting your time. I don't know what to do with Arbiter. I think he's fine. Oh my goodness. Is it time? Is it time to deload the Toad? All right, so where do we start with this guy? I mean, here's the thing. This character has got everything, right? And I feel like that's kind of how he's supposed to be designed. But he has the all-rounder style that he has is complemented too heavily by how good everything that he has is. So, for instance, the Wrecking Ball, crazy, right? And it's crazy from anywhere. You know, it's crazy in the air, it's crazy on the ground. The Shadow version is crazy. All versions of Wrecking Ball are crazy. Battering Ram. You're not breaking this. You know, if you're eating this at the wall, you're guessing. You know, unless you really have the best headphones in the world and you can confidently go on Evo stage or Combo Breaker stage and say that you can hear those. I don't know, man. That's pretty hard to see. It's pretty hard to break those. I don't know if there's a way to make those more seeable. Would be my guess there, is I think that these need to be a little bit more seeable so that it's not a free unbreakable manual every single time. Maybe make it so there's actually like an corresponding audio cue that's accurate every single time would be the first thing I could think of. You got this move right here. This is a big one. Jumping heavy kick, standing heavy kick, and sweep are all wild. I think the heavy kick is probably the biggest culprit though. Just this insane normal. This cross up right here too. I think just his jump in general. Look at his jump when he's in the air. He gets so small when he's in the air, man. And it's like very, very noticeable when you're trying to hit this guy. Like his hurt box becomes very tiny when he's airborne. It is super, super hard to deal with for a lot of characters. So maybe something there where his hurt box in the air isn't so tiny is another potential change. And I'm not saying all these things are going to happen. Maybe none of them are going to happen. Who knows? Maybe the devs like that Rash is on top. I don't know. But there's a lot to unpack here. There's this move, 7 frames. Hello, 7 frames, -2 on block. And then you can meaty with it and make it plus. Oh, that was like +4. You can make this move plus on block because of how active it is. Maybe it shouldn't have 8 active frames. You know, that's crazy. And then the other boots too. Excuse me. These other boots are really good too. They're a little bit more safe, but you can space them so that they're like never punishable. I don't know. Maybe boot in general should be more of a risk. Maybe the light one should be like -5. This should be -8, and this one -10. I don't know. I think that'd be a decent change too. There's a lot of ways you can go about nerfing this character. If you nerf everything about him, though, it's going to completely kill him. You know what I mean? If you nerf a little bit of this character, like, you know, a handful of things, it's fine. But if you take everything as like, oh, Wicked Tongue has to go, Wrecking Ball has to go, Heavy Kick has to go, Battering Ram has to go, the Shadow Boot, this should not be fully invincible. You know, if they take away that from him, it's just like, okay, well, you're completely changing the character, right? So if I had to pick like a top 3 for things that I think this character can do without, I think for one, it's this Wrecking Ball Ender. This Wall Splat Ender goes way too far. I think that that's got to go. I think that's the biggest culprit right now, is that he has the best corner carry in the game for very little work. I think another big thing that I hate is the damage output, honestly. Like, his damage on his throw is wild, and his damage on his enders are wild. Like, he just gets such easy damage for nothing. Look at that, man. That's just too good. And then another thing is then maybe like this Wicked Tongue stuff, like canceling into it here and making stuff safe-ish. Like, this is kind of corny. It's kind of nonsense. And the fact that he combos off of it and stuff like that. If it gave him just like hit advantage, I'd be fine with it, kind of like a Riptor Talon Rake thing. But he gets combos off this, and it's just like, oh, it's so annoying. I hate that it's a combo starter. It's really, really good on the ground. The aerial version is super ambiguous. The fact that it crosses up if he goes over you, and he could just do this all day. This will never be bad. I don't know what you do to fix it, though. The grounded one is silly. The air one is silly. There's just so many culprits here, man. It's very hard for me to keep a decent train of thought when talking about this character, because there's just so much I could see going out the window. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's no way this character is staying the same. I'll bet my life insurance on it. I love this character so much. This is my favorite fighting game character of all time. And I really think the only thing I could ask for this character is a better hitbox on this. I've played a bunch of Mira in my day, you guys know that. And my biggest complaint has always been this button right there. It's very decent in terms of poking. It's like 9 frames or something like that. And it has a decent hitbox up high, like closer to her head, but it doesn't anti-air jump-ins that are like further back. And I think it's just kind of mid for a crouching heavy punch. I think this is more suited as like a poke or like a combo normal in most cases. And I just wish she had a little bit better of an anti-air. That's kind of it. I wouldn't change much else. I would even take a little bit of a damage nerf if it meant that she could have a slightly better anti-air. That's again, the greediness in me comes out. I'd be okay with this shit not doing a bazillion damage and her getting 60% meterless combos if it meant that I could get a little bit of a better anti-air. That's all I really want for this character. I mean, she has this, right? She's got this anti-air embrace. It's decent. It doesn't cover all angles, though. And other than that, like, she has to rely on, like, air-to-airs, right? I want a normal. I want to be able to, like, throw these out and then have a consistent anti-air jump option. That's what I want. That's what I want with this character. I don't think that's asking for too much, especially if I'm willing to get rid of some of that damage for it. You know what I'm saying? I just want a little bit more solidarity with this character. That's all. Something to keep the Rashes and the Omens away. Possibly one of the most adjusted characters in the history of this game, Gargos. This character's in a very strange spot because he's kind of like in that Conra spot where he needs to set up shop to be able to get the win condition, right? So he's got to be able to get the minions out, and once he does that, then it becomes hell on earth for most characters that he's fighting. But I do feel like it works well against some characters and not against others. So if you have a character like Rash, he doesn't care that both minions are on the screen. He's just going to Wicked Tongue them, or he's going to Wrecking Ball through them, and then that's that. If you guys saw the Evo exhibition, that's exactly what I did to Rico when I played Gargos against him, and he was just like, oh, yeah, that sucks. It really does not feel good as Gargos when you have 2 minions up and you've earned your win condition and you're still getting cooked. But I don't really know what you could do to make this character a little bit better, honestly. I think if you go too far with a puppet character, especially, he's going to be an absolute menace, and I don't think that's the right call either. This character's got this really fast mid that's plus on block, which used to be more plus on block. I don't think he needs any adjustments to frame data or anything. I think he's all set in that department. And then he's got his zoning, too, which is probably the thing that people hate the most, honestly, because a lot of casual players see this and they're just like, oh, Gargos is top tier. He can combo you from full screen. He's got to be top tier. Not necessarily true, but that's how people view the game at a casual level. Maybe, I don't know, maybe give him something fun where, like, he can, like, I don't know, recap you somehow. Maybe some sort of, like, recapture feature instead of just, like, having this grab, which is cool and all. Is there a way to, like, set up the grab? Hold on. So he kind of already has this technically, but it's not always, like, I don't know, because you leave them in a grab state, right? I would like something for Gargos where he brings them back down to the ground. Maybe a recap of some kind. I think that you can get some pretty cool mix-up opportunities if the minions are on the screen, if he was able to recap in some way. I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside the box because, again, like I said, a puppet character, you take too many liberties with a puppet character and you give them too many things, it gets real ugly really fast. And I don't think that that's a world we want to live in where Gargos is just on top again. He's already been there. We already seen what he looks like when he's been, like, super broken. I don't think we want that again. I think we're all set on that, right? The teleport is kind of whack too. Maybe he shouldn't have this bad of a reversal. Maybe it should be faster. Maybe it should be a faster teleport. I don't know. He needs something. Oh, hey. Oh, I just got a YouTube sub while I was doing this. Hey, thank you for that. I don't know. What do you do with a character like Gargos who's been reworked so many times? Again, I think touching anything that involves, like, his normals or his special moves, I think is kind of crazy. I don't think you should give him any buffs in terms of frame data or hitboxes, but maybe something new. Maybe like a new mechanic. Give him like a recap or something. Just something to spice it up for this character. Noticing a trend with a lot of these Season 3 characters where, again, you get too crazy with them, bad things are going to happen, right? You got this character who's the Zangief for this game, and really excels right here. That's kind of his whole deal, is that he excels up close and sometimes in this kind of mid-range area because he can confirm his stab. So I think the only thing I could see to maybe help this character out a little bit is maybe a little bit of a better reversal. This being as slow as it is definitely stinks, but you don't want to give a grappler too good of a reversal. So let's see. How fast is the emergence? 18 frames. Yeah, I think it could be maybe a little faster. Maybe, you know, not as easy to just pressure him all the time. You know, he's supposed to be the character that's supposed to be scary up close, but everybody else is doing whatever they want to him up close because he doesn't have a real reversal besides this. You know, which with Mira, he needs to, you know, spend 1 bar to be able to do that, and still people are avoiding that as well. So I don't know. I think that that's kind of whack that he doesn't have any defensive capabilities, but maybe it's for the best that way. I don't know. I'm not the dev here. I'm not the person that's putting this game together. I'm just kind of thinking out loud and being like, well, you could probably use this. I think this will help. So I would have to say something better defensively. I'm not really sure if that's the right call, but that's where my brain is going when I see this character. It's just like, he has no real good get off me tool. He's got this 1-frame command grab, right? But just time your meaties better, forehead. I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to mind. All right, let's talk about this MF eyeball real quick. I'm going to be completely honest. The one thing I want to see change for this character is absolutely this instinct. This is too much. It's too crazy. It's very one note, and in some cases it's even linear, but the fact that you can't contest anything, and most characters just can't contest anything ever, it's just crazy. He gets so much damage off of the battery ender. Like, it is the best 15 seconds that anybody gets in this game. It is wild what he gets when he's in instinct. I'm fine with warrior form. I'm fine with mage form too. I just think that when he's in Instinct, getting all this, and then being able to get the meteors to like mix you up too. It's just so much going on. Like I could see that Ender right there getting the change. The launcher Ender, that's the one. It builds a crazy amount of meter, and it does a crazy amount of damage, and then it gives him a setup too. I could see the damage getting nerfed on that. I could see the damage maybe getting adjusted on the chip too, because when he does this, the club smash, the destroyer, when the opponent is blocking, oh my god, the chip adds up so quickly. I thought I set him to block all. Hello. That does not look like block all to me, Your Honor. The chip on this is wild. Wow, it forces stand in training mode. I can't even see the chip on this because he keeps standing up for it. But look at the chip. It adds up a lot. And then here, too, you get 2 of these back-to-back. It's just a lot to take. And yes, he has to be an Instinct for it, but I still think that this character is great outside of Instinct, and I don't think he needs all that. So I would just tone down the Instinct a little bit. All right, up next we got Kilgore. This is an interesting one. This is another very complex character. And again, I think that this character is kind of hard to balance because he's got this crazy zoning capability, right? And zoning is like his whole identity. But then like when he's an Instinct, his whole identity becomes like, I want to get as much unbreakable damage as I possibly can. So like he'll start to do stuff like this, you know. And that wasn't even the accurate thing to do because I put some breakable stuff in there. But the fact that he gets this, it's just a lot. It's 54%. And he's dumping all of his resources into that. Is that worth touching? Is that worth actually bringing down? I don't think so. I think this character is kind of fine as is. And I do feel like he's got a weird, quirky design. But I wouldn't change anything. Because I think if you start getting into stuff like, oh, well, what if we, like, make him a little bit better up close, then you're starting to get crazy too, because he's already got pretty safe normals, nothing really punishable. This is safe. Everything is always like really safe. There's no complaints there. The bullets are the things that are unsafe, but they can be made safe if you have the meter to cancel into them. So that's why you stay back when you're shooting, right? So I think that's great design. Another thing is this chain gun dash is very negative on block. I could see that being a topic of somebody's interest to be like, oh, we should buff the chain gun, and I don't think that's a good call either. The fact that it's as unsafe as it is when he's not fired up, I think is important to mention. Like he should be negative on this move. It's like having a forward advancing full screen special move. Yeah, leave that move alone, please. Don't make that move any better. And then the missiles too. Like missiles up close is -5, and I think that goes for the burnout as well. Yeah, so always -5. I don't think that needs any adjustments. He builds meter perfectly fine. His instinct, like I said, is kind of one note. He just wants to get as much unbreakable damage as possible and lock you down. So again, not a lot of variety there, but I think if you start giving him anything, you know, Sonic already won Combo Breaker with this character. We don't need to be giving this character anything, please. He's fine. And then taking things away, I feel like is kind of whack too, because he's just already got a game plan in mind, right? He's already designed specifically. Now, if you start messing with that, he's gonna lose that identity, and he's just gonna fall apart. And I don't think that he deserves that. As much as I don't like this character, I think he's fine where he is. Okay, time to talk about this little degenerate right here, Shin Hisako. This character is pretty wild, but I think in the grand scheme of things, like her in terms of like the full game, she's kind of on the lower end of things just because of how many matchups she loses. And I do feel like that she could use a little bit of help in some areas, but not too much. Like for instance, I think maybe a little bit of a damage buff would be okay, because this is like, you know, nothing. You could eat how many of these before you actually, oh my god, this is doing nothing. And this is super risky too, by the way. This is a very, very risky mix-up. Granted, she's got really good mix-ups in general. She's got fast overheads. She's got low starters. So the ability to mix is definitely there. And then she also has her orb pressure on top of it. And I think that that's often overlooked, honestly. But I do think that a little bit of a damage buff might be okay for this character because she is kind of lacking in that department. If she gets like a level 4 and she does like a cash out like this, that's not even 40%. You know, most characters are hitting 40, even meterless on a level 4 most of the time. So I think she could use maybe a little bit of help, but not much. The other thing I could think of is fixing the bugs that come along with this instinct. Like, this is just like game-breaking stuff at the end of the day where you're able to like put people underground with the hands. We've seen it time and time again where like Shin Hisako does like some crazy weird mix-up and then like she just like gone on the screen. This isn't really a balanced thing. This is just for my own eyeballs for them to be satiated, where she just like is a buggy mess. But it's probably too late to do anything about that, is my guess. I don't know. I think she's fine as is for the most part. Just needs a little bit of help. Wow, I know she can go into a DP off this. Is it the heavy one? I like that she has this hard knockdown DP stuff. I think that's really, really tricky. Yeah, don't give this character too much, please. Maybe a little damage buff, but other than that, don't get too crazy, because then bad things are going to happen. Arguably the most controversial character in this entire game, Eagle. I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people think this character is broken, and I definitely think he's very good. But the issue with a lot of his stuff is that, like, he was, in my opinion, designed to do a thing, and that's kind of being overlooked because of his mix-up capabilities. And I feel like his mix is too strong and his zoning isn't good enough. And I think there should be a better balance. So I think that something should happen regarding his mix-ups in the corner, where maybe these overhead arrows aren't as good. Maybe something with the bird isn't as good. I don't know. Something along those lines. And then to compensate, I think he should have something better in terms of his zoning. I think there should be more of an incentive to, you know, use your arrows in neutral and just like try to keep people away with them instead of like going for this every single chance that you get. You know what I mean? I think that he was supposed to be more of a zoner archetype than anything else, and then people just started doing this stuff and saw that there was like no need to zone when you could just mix everybody for free. You know, this is why do all that extra work and play neutral and zone when you could do this on every single knockdown. This is so much more difficult for people to deal with, especially Killer Instinct players who are not trying to block all that, bro. We're just not. We are not interested. Something like that could be good. And also maybe just completely, like, I don't know, rework some things. Like, some of these bird commands are just kind of whack. Like, I don't know. Screech, I think, is just super weird. Something can happen there. Something when he sends the bird, maybe make this more rewarding. I don't know. This is very, very whatever, and everybody just uses the Screech. So more incentive to zone, more incentive to use the other bird stuff. I'm okay with him having the worst instinct in the game because this character's already got so much going on that, like, if his instinct is like quote unquote useless and it's just a freeze frame, I'm fine with that. That's totally cool by me. But I do think this character deserves to have something else other than what he's doing, because what he's doing is just so one note and it's not very fun. It's just, there's not a whole lot of variety. There's not a whole lot of sauce with this character. Again, I think he was designed with a different vision, and that's not how he turned out. And that is my personal take on Eagle. So there you have it. This was a little bit of a long video, but I wanted to pump it out for you guys because the tension is high right now. We don't know what's going to happen with this game. Maybe it's only a handful of adjustments. Maybe like only the top tiers are getting nerfed and then that's it. Maybe only the low tier characters are getting buffs and that's it. We really cannot say for sure. I do think it's going to be very interesting to see what the landscape of the game is going to look like after this balance patch hits. Kind of see, like, start to feel out who's going to be on top, who's going to, you know, come down a little bit. That first tier list video is going to be juicy. I can't wait to see your guys' reaction once this patch hits and see what the future has in store for us. Thank you all so much for watching. Later.